Okay, so here we go. Um, Working with the PMT function. This is part 2 of activity 10. I haven't changed the title yet because I kind of made that decision late. But let's move forward. As we were talking about it, we set up this table to determine how much principal amount of a car is. We've got the term in months. Okay, this is 60 months, which is a 5-year loan. We've got different interest rates. The PMT is an example of an advanced function. A function is something that uses a command word like PMT or sum. It uses this syntax, right? So we've got the equal sign, we've got the function name, and we've got a parentheses. Inside that parentheses, we have things called arguments. Okay, and what makes this an advanced function is the fact, two things. First off, that it takes more than one argument to run. This one needs at least 3 arguments. And advanced functions often take specialized knowledge to know how to make them work. Okay, so when we look at the PMT function, you and I, we don't just intuitively know how to make this function work. Okay. Excel does give us this tooltip. If we click here, we can see some information on how to make that function work. Okay. This is pretty a good help tool. If you were working with this professionally, you would want to make sure that you read this information. If you're working for a company who's using this function often, you might have a teammate or advisor who tells you which functions to use and how to use them, and they might give you some information. But we're just using this PMT function as a way to get an example of how those advanced functions work and how we can, what the result can be, what their power can be. All right, so I am going to step you through this, although I would encourage you just to get it, if for no other reason than just to get a feel for it, to kind of read through this. I will say that even reading through this does not necessarily assure you that you're going to know exactly how to make it work. Different functions make more sense than others, okay? But I'm going to step you through this now. So I'm closing my helper tool, and we've got equals PMT, open parentheses. The first argument that it's asking for is the rate. The rate, you could guess, fair enough, is the interest rate. We're, of course, not going to type 3.4. Instead, we are going to point to the cell that 3.4 lives in. That's called the cell reference. So that is D2. I can also type D2. Now, you don't know this, but I know this because of experience. I need to actually take that interest rate and I need to divide it by the number, like how often I'm making that payment in a year. Let's just take my word for it. We're going to take that D2 and we're going to put divided by 12. Okay? Without going too much further into it. My rate is D2 divided by 12. When I'm done with my first argument, I tell Excel that I'm moving on to the next argument by adding a comma. The comma is special in this circumstance. So the comma, as soon as I typed it, you notice that the highlighting went off of rate and it went to NPER. So it's now ready to see what we're going to put for our NPER. Your NPER is your rate in months. It's how many months you're making that payment. So that is 60. We're not going to type 60. We're going to put in C2. I'm going to press comma to move to my next argument, the PV, which is the principal value. And again, you don't know this, but I know this. So I'm going to tell you we are going to make this a negative number. The way we're going to do that is simply by putting a minus sign, and then we're going to click on B2. You do see that this function, this advanced function, has 2 optional arguments. but we are not going to use those optional arguments in this example. So I'm done with my function. I have put in the code word, I've put in the 3 required arguments, and I am going to then close my parentheses. All said and done, this is my final function, equals PMT, open parentheses, D2 divided by 12, comma, C2, comma, negative B2, and then I close my parentheses. If that looks correct, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tap enter. And what am I going to get here is a calculation which tells me what is the monthly payment on that loan. What is the bank going to be asking me to pay them at the beginning or at the end of every month? Okay? Now, again, as before, as with all things, we see the result in the cell, but we see the formula, or the function in this case, up in the formula bar. So we can review that. We can double click to get the highlighting and to kind of edit this if there are any changes we need to make to that function. If I want to get out of that space without making any changes, I press the escape key on my keyboard. Okay, and if I'm satisfied that this is how I want it to be, I'm now going to use my fill handle to drag that function down. If I double click on any of these functions, I'm going to see that that fill handle moved these pieces of my formula down to the correct row. All right, and here, now I can look at my 4 different cars and the loan rates that the bank is offering me, and I can make some decisions, based on, what I'm seeing here. I can't afford to spend, $15,000 right out of my pocket, on Thursday. But can I commit to paying $272.20 each month? Maybe I'm feeling more comfortable than that. I want a nicer car. Well, here I've got 2 that are really close in payments. Okay, so I got 354. Can I do that? Well, maybe mom or dad is going to help me out, and maybe I can actually, my wife can help me out, and we're going to share the car so we can get a really nice car, but that's going to see a much higher monthly payment. So here I can use Excel with the power of functions to make calculated and informed decisions about real life scenarios. Okay, and that is something that Excel is just really great at doing for us. We're not done here. We're going to flesh this table out a little bit. So here I can make a decision on my monthly payments, but that's not the whole story, right? Because when I take a loan from the bank, it's going to cost me. Okay, it's actually, it's always cheaper to pay like the $15,000 right up front. If I just pay it, I'm not going to be charged any interest, and that's going to be the cheapest amount. The problem is most of us don't have that money just, liquid. In other words, that we can't just pay it right on any given day. So we get a loan, so we use monthly payments, but that comes at a cost. So let's figure that out. The first thing is we're going to find out how much is this going to cost at the end of 60 months. Okay, so if I'm paying $272 a month for 60 months, the math on this is pretty easy. Okay, I'm going to click on F2. I'm going to begin with the equal sign, and I'm going to type in, what am I, term in months, that's C2, multiplied. To get that symbol, remember we do Shift 8, and I'm going to multiply that by my monthly payments. Okay, how much am I paying per month, and how many months am I paying it? That's my end of term cost. Okay. The difference between these two amounts, so this is the original amount of the car, and this is the amount I actually spend at the end of my loan, my 5 years. So we're going to find the difference of those two numbers. So here in G2, I'm going to type equals, all right? And then I'm going to take this amount, F2, and subtract from it my principal amount in B2. So all said and done, after 5 years, the cost of that loan above and beyond the value of the car, it's going to cost me $1,300 and $1,332. Okay. Let's see how that plays out in my other scenarios with the other cars I'm deciding on. I can actually use the fill handle for multiple cells. So I'm going to highlight F2 and G2, and then I'm going to fill handle down, and I'm going to get my results. So here's my end of term cost, and here's how much each of those loans are actually costing me above and beyond the value of the car. And this might be something that I want to consider when I'm thinking about my long-term finances. I'm running my household, maybe I can afford, $354 a month, but do I really want to spend that extra $2,000, or could I maybe, hit up, a family member for a little bit extra money and try to pay that up front. Okay. So, these are some different considerations when you're pricing out a car or other things. Businesses need to take out loans when they're upgrading their equipment. Okay. And you're starting a business. You need to take out a loan for a business loan. Okay. There are lots of different reasons why you would take out a loan. And this all hinges on this function right here, this advanced function, the PMT function, which calculates your monthly payments based on a principal amount, how long the loan is, and the interest rate that you're being offered. Okay? There are other functions in here that can do other things, that can look at your return on an investment, and so on and so forth. And we are going to look at a couple other different interesting examples of advanced functions in the next couple of days. Okay? Just as good habit, with our last couple of minutes, we're just going to do a couple of things just to make this look nice. These are all kind of review steps, but my principal amount, I want it to display as a dollar amount. So I'm going to highlight these B2 through B5, and I'm going to apply the accounting number format. English, thank you. All right, that's going to show my principal amount in a dollar value. Okay. Those don't match these ones, so maybe I want to get these to match. All right, this is showing currency, so let's go ahead and let's make this, instead of accounting, let's do currency so that it matches the other dollar amounts. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bold my column headings. I'm going to use Control B to do that. You could also use this button. I'm going to center my headings in the alignment group. I'm also going to center my term and months and my interest rates to make that look a little bit nicer. Lastly, I'm going to put a line underneath my column headings. All right, that looks a little bit nicer. If you haven't already, make sure that you file and save this as activity 10. Okay. Instead of example, you'll put your own initials. I think we are good. All right, so there's a lot in there, okay? And we're going to get more experience with functions as we go. If this was confusing to you, I recommend that you kind of look back through the video kind of at a slower pace and make sure that you understand the things that I said, because we are going to be using that with other functions in the near future. Okay, good work, guys. Keep it up.